Hi guys, today I want to show you something that you might want to use. Let's say, for example, you're at home, you're using your open source solution for virtualization like Zen, Proxmox, oVirt, Virt Manager, which I'm using at this moment. And you want to export a virtual machine to give to a customer. But most of the time, this customer is using a solution like VMware, vSphere, and you'll need to convert the machine. So in this example, I got few virtual machines and I got this Pi-hole machine. I just want to convert it to run under VMware vSphere 6.7. So let's take this machine. And the first thing that we'll need to do is click open here. And I think I have it open. Yeah. And I'll click here. All I want to see is the disk. And as you can see, this disk is located at this location. Now, before I can do anything, I'll need to check the disk and to make sure it is in QCOW2 format. So let's go to the terminal and let's check it. Okay, I misplaced this disk. I've added it to the ISO directory. Happens. Anyway, let's check the format of the disk. And info Pi-hole. It will complain. Fail to get write lock. Is another process using the image? Yes, it is. So let's go back and we'll do a shutdown. And guest is not running now. That's great. Let's check again. And as we can see, the file format is QCOW and the virtual disk is 20 gigs, but I'm actually using 2.9 gigs. That's great. Now we'll need to convert it. Now, before we go and convert the machine, it's a good idea that you'll connect from your open source virtualization node to the Datastore through NFS, for example. So if I'm looking and let me check. As you can see, I'm using FreeNAS and basically I've connected the NFS of the ESXi, the Datastore, to this machine. So basically on mount SMB, just a simple dumb name, it's not SMB at all. I'm using it to basically convert and put it directly into the Datastore. And you'll need it, if you're using iSCSI, you'll need to somehow take this new VMDK file, that's the virtual hard disk for VMware, and you'll need to move it to the Datastore. So basically I'm trying to make things simple and short. So let's take this command that I've written here, and I wanted to explain about it. Okay. I'm using the command qemu image, which should be already installed on your virtualization solution. I'm running the operation convert. -O is an option. Compact 6 is basically give me the VMware version 6 of the hard disk format. -original file, the format, QCOW2, the original virtual hard disk, and the output will be VMDK for VMware, and where I'm going to put it. Now I'm using the temp here in the file name because vSphere doesn't really like to run VMDK that you grabbed from somewhere. You'll need to import it. So for a few minutes, you'll have twice the size, but that's okay. So I'm converting it right now. Let's go to the ESXi, and I've already created a directory called Pi-hole. And it's important to remember the name, because when we'll create a new virtual machine for the definitions, the name that you'll give, it will be the directory. So I'm using this Pi-hole, and when I'll create a new virtual machine, I will call this new virtual machine Pi-hole. Okay, let's look again. It's still not there. It takes a few minutes, so I'll just use ls, and I'll wait a few minutes until it finishes. I'll be back when it finished. Yeah, and I made a stupid mistake because the file is here and not inside. I forgot to mention the directory in the parameters. So let's move it into Pi-hole. Okay, now the Pi-hole directory contains this Pi-hole temp. Now I cannot use it, as I said. So what I should use is VMKF tools, VMKF tools -i import Pi-hole temp, and this will be Pi-hole VMDK. As you can see, destination disk format is thin, and you can change the parameters to make it thick, 0, etc., etc. So now we created a clone. Once it's finished the clone, we'll be able to go to the vCenter, and let's create a new virtual machine. And yes, I'm going to create, yeah, okay. And I'll call it Pi-hole to use the same directory. And I'll use this machine. The files are here. And it is ESXi 6.7. No, it's not Windows. It's Linux. It's CentOS 7. And I'll remove the disk. Yeah, 1 CPU, 2 gigabytes of memory. Let's say for this, I'll put 4 gigabytes. And I don't need CD drive. Everything is okay. Finish. Now it created a virtual machine. Let's click settings. Let's click add new device, existing hard disk. Let's go to the NAS. Oh, great. It's not that smart, huh? It created the directory Pi-hole 1. So let's go back to the terminal and let's remove the Pi-hole temp file and move everything to Pi-hole 1. Stupid. Okay, I got this VMDK. I'll click OK. It should be okay. Now, one thing to remember, it depends on depending on your virtual machine configuration. Did you use UEFI or not? You should change it to in the machine setting to basically, if I remember, it's in the CPU. You can give it IOMMU and virtualization. Yeah. You can click here and use UEFI. If you used on your previous, on your current open source solution, you used UEFI. By default, it's not. Okay, now let's power on this machine. And let's open Web Console. Yeah, it's a bit old kernel, and we'll see something that you might not like. Basically, this won't boot. You'll get this screen, and a few minutes later, you'll get few errors that about drag cut. It cannot init, and that is the issue. So I'll wait a few minutes. I want to show you the errors. As you can see, warning, drag cut, init queue timeout, starting timeout scripts. And it will continue until it will give you some shell to try to fix it. You won't be able without some mounts, etc. There is a simpler solution. Let's reboot this machine. Okay, I've rebooted the machine, and as you can see, this is a grab menu. Now, group grab, I don't know how it's pronounced. The last one is called rescue. So let's go here, and we'll click rescue. This will boot the machine, and as you can see, the fonts has changed, and it will finish booting. And as you can see, this is the machine. I'll log in, and let's see if my IP is there. It's not. It's basically recreated a new virtual Ethernet, and it uses my DHCP. But going back to the problem that we just had, how to fix it? And you'll find lots of forum posts that will spin your head, but the answer is pretty easy. We'll run drag cut, regenerate all, minus force. This will basically take the init RAM from each kernel and regenerate it and write it to this machine. And the problem, and at least this is my theory, that VMware is a bit different from the open source solutions when it comes to installing Linux. And basically, the init RAM is basically losing everything from the old virtual machine. So you'll have to recreate it under VMware. Now, one thing that I just mentioned, the virtual Ethernet, you'll need to know the address if you're using a fixed IP and you want to reuse the fixed IP. So let's go here. I have a new one. Let's see this one. Yeah, okay. I don't know why it created it, but I don't want this one. Let's take this one and automatically connect. I hope it will work. Yeah. It won't work because it's not registered. Okay, I'll create a new one. Add Ethernet, let's call it main. And in my case, I just want manual /24. Let's say 01 DNS server, and let's add Cloudflare. Okay, main, back, activate. Oh, it's already activated. Okay, let's quit. Okay, let's see that I only have one. Yep, I only have one. Okay, now right now I'm in the rescue mode, so I'll need to boot to normal mode. So I'm rerunning reboot, and okay, now I'm on the boot menu. I've selected the first one, and as you can see, phones change, which means it works successfully. Let's log in. Let's check the IP. Yep, my fixed IP. So this machine has been successfully converted to run to VMware. Now, unfortunately, there is no way that if you can take a virtual machine from an open source solution and move it to VMware to basically share something. So basically, if you make a few changes to the VM, you'll have to restart all over again, as I've shown you here. And there is no simpler way to update the virtual machine unless you want to use something like Clonezilla, for example, which will let you basically copy all the sectors from the disk, and you can then run Clonezilla on the VMware and basically restore it, just like a backup. Thanks for watching. Hope you like this video. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.